Tarkir Dragonstorm is on Magic Online. It is time to be a bully. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video. First off, I'm just going to say I am a little bit stuffy today, but I am so excited to play Magic, we're going to press on. Ruthless Ocelot gave me a Dealer's Choice donation deck list, and I'm going to use this to test out some sweet new cards from Tarkir Dragonstorm. There are two for a mono-white Stompy shell that I am interested in testing here in my deck, which is apparently called Clipboard deck. Number one is Sage of the Skies. This is one that I opened up. I just cracked this out of a pack, and I went, okay, that is really sweet with Chrome Mox and Lotus Petal. So for 3 mana, on turn 1, we can have 2 flying lifelink bodies and be clocking at 4 damage a turn while increasing our own life total, which is kind of a big deal in a deck that is likely to deal a decent amount of self-damage to itself. And the other one is one of the more interesting hate bear style cards we've seen in a long time, Clarion Conqueror. Flying 3/3, good rate there. Activated abilities of artifacts, creatures, and planeswalkers can't be activated. Your Oops All Spells creature? I don't think so. Your Nadu combo? I don't think so. Your Tamiyo? Hope you keep it on the front side. All I'm saying. This is a powerful card. So there are some deck building hiccups that I need to figure out by physically piloting this deck. So number one is, can you get away with playing this in the main deck of your deck that wants to be using artifact mana? I believe the answer is yes. I don't think you then get to play something like the One Ring on top of that. I don't think that makes sense. But this is such a powerful card that will randomly hose entire strategies. Note that this does not say except for mana abilities. So all of those Llanowar Elves, Birds of Paradise style cards, they are going to get shut off as well, which is a pretty big deal. Thing number two with Sage of the Skies. Again, whenever you cast a spell, if you cast another spell this turn, copy this spell. This deck also wants to be playing Archon of Emeria, right? It is just a very objectively powerful card. So, is it fine to play objectively powerful cards that have anti-synergy with each other if the cards on their own have the potential to take over the game? Again, I think the answer is yes, but you also just potentially could build this differently. For example, we could take Clarion Conqueror out of the deck. We could take Archon out of the deck. We could play Ocelot, Pride, and Guide of Souls, and then slot the One Ring in here somehow. There's a lot of ways we could take this. And on that route, I'm going to try Swords to Plowshares in the sideboard. In the sideboard rather than the main deck, and try to play Swords to Plowshares in the main deck. I can't articulate why. It is just my gut feeling that this is a thing that I should do. I think it has something to do with the fact that Clarion Conqueror is going to help out in the unfair matchups. This is just my gut feeling for how this should be configured. I don't know how to build the sideboard here. I'm going to be real with you. I fucking hate that I just need 4 Leyline of the Voids in every deck that I build right now because Oops All Spells is so good. Because I want my graveyard hate to be things like this that are good against Goyfs. That's where I want my graveyard hate to be, which means that I'm spending way more slots in my sideboard on graveyard hate than I otherwise might like, because those cards are for entirely different functions. And that means that I'm not playing more things like Lauren that can answer cards that I need to answer, or I'm not slotting in some Brutal Cathars or other things lower on the curve. Again, I think this is about fine, but this is a league of experimentation. There's going to be some really cool things we're capable of. So my opponent plays out a creature, I solitude that creature away, I play a Sage of the Skies, I have 2/3 flyers in play that lifelink. I think we're going to see a lot of that. But there also might be a decent amount of tripping over ourselves as we shut off our own Chrome Moxen. So we'll see how it goes here. And I have said this plenty of times, but I think Tarkir Dragonstorm is a very, very powerful set, and you're probably going to want cards from it. If you do, check out my sponsor, TOAMagic.com. Promo code ThrabenU will save you 5% on your order here, and you'll also receive free shipping on top of that. If you're going to a major event, such as MagicCon Vegas or MagicCon Atlanta in the not-too-distant future, look for this purple banner. There will be good deals under it. Let's battle. So we have all the mana in the world with this hand, but I'm not a fan of this hand. But my opponent is a fan of me. Hello, opponent. You're in a video. Let's ship this one. Okay. Witch Enchanter, Cavernous Souls, Chrome Mox is enough to do a thing. I think I'm fine keeping this hand. There is some awkwardness with Clarion Conqueror Chrome Mox that hopefully doesn't come up. Street Wraith. So either Doomsday or a Death's Shadow list in all likelihood. Bayou after that. Interesting. I am mentally debating whether or not I need to play out Chrome Mox immediately this turn so it doesn't get Thought Seized away. I think since I didn't get Thought Seized on one, I will be greedy with it. Fetch? Tamiyo. That's not bad. So I'm going to play that. I think I'm going to do this. Imprint the Anointed Peacekeeper. I'm going to put Cavernous Souls on Dragon. I'm going to cast an Archon of Ameria that is dazable, but I have Lotus Petal. So this could be Force of Willed. And then I'm just going to play 2 of these uncounterable dragons in a row. Force of Will pitching stock up. Sure. And then Clarion Conqueror is going to come down and say fuck you to my opponent's clues and their Tamiyo. Nice Planeswalker. Please don't wasteland me. By the way, Tamiyo transforms. Dark Ritual. Doomsday. It's going to be at 7. I will have a 3/3 threat. Let's briefly skim their deck here. We've got Stock Ups, Personal Tutor, main deck Veil of Summer, which is what this shit is for. Main deck Bowmasters. Okay. Gargan. Oh, the 2 Street Wraiths from earlier are still in exile over there. My opponent's Doomsday pile might incidentally kill through this. That's actually surprisingly good, for reasons that I hope will actually happen. So, we attack my opponent's face. They go to 4. Clarion Conqueror is now lethal next turn. My opponent's deck is not empty. I can potentially disrupt a Thassa's Oracle kill with Swords to Plowshares, which is why Ancient Tomb was such a good draw there. There's Brainstorm. Clarion Conqueror! Let's go! Yeah, I wonder if I disrupted a Doomsday pile by disrupting a Clue token, or if I disrupted a Doomsday pile by stopping Street Wraith from being relevant there. I don't know if my opponent has at 3 or 4 or 2 Street Wraiths or what. So basically I want to kill my opponent here. Same as in every round. We are probably going to bring in Chalice of the Void here to stop cantrips. If things get real weird, we can potentially put it on 2 to try to disrupt Thassa's Oracle. Although an opposing Cavernous Souls could stop that. If my opponent does something like brings in Goyf as a juke plan, we still will just have some outs to that in the deck. And we're okay versus the Tamiyo type stuff already. Again, there was some tension that game with Clarion Conqueror and our own artifact mana. Opponent said, saw dragon coming. To be fair, I did put a Cavern on dragon, but did not remember that it hit Planeswalkers. Yeah, so there's the confirmation that I was looking for. Okay, we have 3 mana here. I have 2 different 3-drops that I can play. These 2 cards are not particularly strong. These ones are. I think I am comfortable keeping this, even if I get... Well, I guess if I get Thought Seized, I lose like a Chrome Mox or something, and actually not the best for me. Ooh. Well, I am hoping for 1 piece of mana here next turn. Let's get rid of Seasoned Dungeoneer, I think. Seasoned Dungeoneer and Solitude are both pretty bad right now. Solitude hedges against a juke, though. Seasoned Dungeoneer is probably just unnecessary. Archon. Get in there, bud. Opponent does not like it. Honestly, fair. Opponent surveils a daze, and then we're good. So hopefully I just hit a land Follow it up with a second Archon or another Clarion Conqueror, and we're good. I'd probably play second Archon prior to Clarion Conqueror, just so that my mana works out more smoothly. Yeah, tapped Polluted Delta. You'll love to see it. Okay, my deck is 50% mana. So while I am pretty likely to hit that third mana source in the not too distant future, there might be some hiccups along the way. There's a Force of Will, which could not counter my Archon. We'll get in there. 16. I didn't look exactly, but I imagine my opponent has one of each basic, so they can now fetch to clear the Brainstorm without any problems. And tapped Misty Rainforest. Excellent. Alright, we are not hitting our mana. That's not the end of the world. But the difference between... Long goodbye. That's sweet. The difference between having the second Archon in play and not is a really big deal because of things like that we just saw, where my opponent can remove one, and now their Dark Ritual type cards are online for Doomsday. This might be a point where my opponent can just cast a Doomsday and then brainstorm into the things that let them get a win. Alright, there is a Street Wraith to kick things off, so now my opponent can brainstorm or whatever to follow that up. And we'll see if this is an LED pile that just wins immediately. My opponent does Edge of Autumn. They didn't crack LED? The words "oh no" were just typed in chat, is all I'm saying. Come on, land. Come on, land. Nice. Okay. So, we're going to set ourselves up for victory here, right? So now, I drop Archon of Emeria, so my opponent gets one spell. They will potentially just play Thassa's Oracle as their one spell that wins them the game, and I will hopefully get to Solitude it. Damn it, why is my opponent good? Just waited. I can hit my opponent for 2. The initiative doesn't do anything. I think since they didn't go for it, they win. Damn. Note that if my opponent, doesn't click through their LED there, we're very dead anyway, and we never even have a chance to have an out. So I will play as if there is still a chance for me to do something meaningful this game, but I am dead. Good on opponent there for not getting impatient. So with 0 cards in library, even if I remove that, that is death for me, unfortunately. I don't think we're going to change anything about sideboarding. Well, we could do the Sage of the Skies thing here, but I think we can probably do better than this. Oh, second hand is not better. It only has a single mana source. We will go to 5. 5-card hand is not good. It plays a Chalice of Void on 1 and then cannot play any follow-up card. We are unfortunately going to 4. This is pretty bad. I think we just lose to mulligans here. The way that I win with a hand that looks like this one is keeping 2 lands and 2 dragons. Draw Ancient Tomb off the top to play 2 dragons. That's the way that I win with a hand that looks like this one. I think this is better than going to 4 and trying to fish for Ancient Tomb white card Hate Bear that's castable on white 1. Cavern on Dragon. So if we spike Ancient Tomb or City of Traders, we can do it. Scalding Tarn, Dark Ritual, Doomsday. And unfortunately, I've telegraphed the fact that I have the Conqueror in hand. My opponent can just build a pile that does not care about Street Wraith. Alright, opponent is at 9. Chalice of the Void. That's not nothing. We'll see if this buys us some time. Force of Negation and Force of Will there. This would have been a difficult hand to beat pretty much no matter what. If my opponent has turn 1 Doomsday backed by 2 different counterspells. Damn. We spiked the Ancient Tomb there. We do slow my opponent down. Alright, Island. Petal. Deuter. GG.
Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, just the best place to keep your online deck lists, and the reason I say that is it just has so much functionality. So for example, let's take a look at some random legacy deck here. You can click on your various 2-drop slots and you can see what % chance you have of casting various things on curve, and you can get a breakdown of your mana symbols and all of that stuff, and there's a lot more here than just this. Consider checking it out.
Okay, opening hand looks good here. We've got some mana, and Got basic island as the counterplay on the other side of the table. Ooh. Start aggro? Yeah, let's maybe start aggro here. Do I play around days? I don't think so. Because I cast another spell this turn, so I just innately copy this. So even if this gets dazed, I still have a 2/3 flyer. This is cool. And I'll pass turn here. The more unfair my opponent's deck is... Okay. Okay, yeah, so this is fine. I think for Omniscience, I put in Witch Enchanter here. Aha! Impulse. See the value you get. It is possible that I still lose the game here if my opponent finds Cunning Wish and can, like, Trick Bind this trigger or something. Nice. So this is just 6 damage. Send it. 13. The remainder of this turn is incredibly difficult. Archon is better versus cantrips. Clarion Conqueror is better versus the One Ring. The One Ring requires specifically Ancient Tomb. And beyond that, do I play around days? If I play around days, I'm either giving up one of the creatures or giving up Swords to Plowshares and Atraxa if that happens. I think I'm into Archon, not playing around days. Alright, cool. So much fucking show and tell in leagues right now. And there's only going to be more of it because, what is it? Mistvale Village is an incredibly good land. Sorry. Mistrise Village. I've got one sitting on my deck here. I think very highly of that card. I own them already. Okay. Chalice, Palace Jailer's okay to put in off show and tell. Lauren's okay to put in off show and tell. Swords to Plowshares, not the best. Solitude, fine. I will trim 3 cards somewhere here. Probably just my more expensive threats. That seems fine. This is straight up a fucking aggro hand. Just turn 1, Seasoned Dungeoneer. Turn 2, attack for 5. I honestly think I'm fine with that. Hey, there it is. Lauren. That's a fine thing to put in off a show and tell. I, again, think I'm fine just jamming here. Alright, nice. I'll get my planes and pass. I guess I should hover over this one in case you're not super familiar with it. This card is a really big deal, and we'll see a lot of legacy play. We are forging. Ooh. I'm going to think about that for a second. So do the thing, pick up an Ancient Tomb. Opponent is at 15. I don't have lethal next turn. I have 10 from this plus trap. I can add 3 power to the board. I am always taking 2 turns to kill my opponent. Let's Chalice around days here. Opponent brainstorms in response. Oh wow, that was just good enough for the win there. Fantastic. Okay, this is a hand that can play a turn 1 Archon or a turn 2 uncounterable Archon, but I don't actually think this hand is particularly strong. It just does not have any follow-through afterwards. I might keep the second hand that looks like this and just be sad about it. And, you know, we're going to have 50-50 shot off the top to make this hand better. So the big question here is how much do I care about exactly the card Force of Will? Because I can uncounterably Archon on turn 1 if I give up Swords to Plowshares, which I don't think I want to do. Which I believe means ignoring my Chrome Box and shoving like this. 18. Alright, cool. Tapped Windswept Heath. Okay, we'll do this. Send in for 2. I will probably go ahead and make my land drop and preemptively put this on Human, which is usually what I need it for, but I could maybe hold that. Fetch 4 swords. Now my opponent can make a land drop that is untapped, and I'm in bad shape from here. Bant. Sure. Ancient Tomb is not what I want. I don't think I removed Delighted Halfling. I think I want to be able to remove something like a Nadu that hits play. There's land drop 3, 4 total mana. That's a Nadu, which I do have covered. I will go ahead and let my opponent put whatever Nadu enabler they have on the stack. Nomads and Core. And let's try to stop this. Opponent gets a land. Opponent can brainstorm for an answer. Alright, we successfully removed the Nadu. I now have mana for just about everything. But I have no pressure, no card advantage. Life is, generally speaking, bad. That is a green sun for X equals 1, rather than getting another Nadu. You just have another Nadu in hand. Yeah, alright. Yep, and I am kind of done sitting through Nadu combo on the channel. Chalice of the Void, when I'm on the play specifically, counters mana dorks and brainstorms and 1 mana interaction for my creatures. I don't hate it. Beyond that, like, I guess I could Palace Jailer to remove creatures, but my opponent has flying things like Nadu and some degree of protection built into their deck. Thalia is not the greatest. I could trim a couple of Seasoned Dungeoneers without missing them and do this when I'm on the play. Clarion Conqueror can do a lot of work in this matchup, stopping all the Nomads in Core Shuko type things. Yes, this hand is going to be a keep. I'm going to have to decide how I play it. You can get played out now. Then it's trickier. It's like, do I want the Clarion Conqueror to be uncounterable? I think I do. I think I'm going to play City of Traders as my 3rd land drop since I have Seasoned Dungeoneer. I'm going to go basic Plains this turn. And I can pivot on what 3-drop I cast on turn 2. Sage of the Skies. I would not be casting that one this turn anyway, I don't think. That does make me want to put Cavern on Human. 3 uncounterable cards. If I play Clarion Conqueror, sometimes it just eats Swords to Plowshares immediately, and it's kind of awkward. So let's do this. This is much better versus Swords to Plowshares. Opponent obviously has to fetch here. I don't effectively sinkhole them. I Dryad Arbor. Cavern? Well, there's a Swords to Plowshares. We have gotten the whoops. Yeah. We will make swords more expensive there. Yeah, opponent forgot it's a human. What did they pitch? Consigned to memory. So my opponent's hand was honestly just not that good here. So my opponent has Swords to Plowshares that will cost 3 mana. I can shut off Delighted Halfling's mana ability. It doesn't really matter right now. Take the initiative, which seems fine. My creature has Vigilance. I can also Solitude into Sage of the Skies here. I don't really know that that makes sense. I think I'm just going to get this going. So I will take the initiative, grab my planes, go to Punchies, send it. What was revealed? Swords to Plowshares. Swords is fine. I'll take that. Opponent's at 14. I'll just pass the turn here. Oh, I don't think that's the timing for that. The opponent uses swords on my creature, but now I can safely forge, whereas I couldn't have done that a second ago. So now I forge onto Anointed Peacekeeper. I go 1 mana, Swords your Delighted Halfling out of the way. I have played another spell, so I will copy Sage of the Skies, go to combat, send in for 6. Opponent has a land drop, drops a Nadu, which I have the ability to answer while having lethal on board. So, trap, lose 5. I don't even need to cast that, right? Yeah, I don't even need to cast that. Solitude. Send it. Sage of the Skies. Good shit. Notably there, my opponent's hand was kind of weak, and they made a Force of Will whoopsie, and did not use Swords to Plowshares with optimal timing. So we got some freebies there. But between these 2 cards, I think we were perfectly fine regardless. So now the question is, when I'm on the draw, do I want Chalice of the Void, or do I want, like, 4 of Seasoned Dungeoneer, Palace Jailer, Thalia? The Chalice is absolutely worse on the draw. But it still hits some cards that are important. I think I'm going to reluctantly keep them. But I am still getting a feel for how Clarion Conqueror changes my evaluation of cards in this deck. This is fine. And we'll figure out what I'm doing in terms of these cards. I think I'm probably playing an Archon on turn 1. Solitude. So it is always this. Putting a Witch Enchanter under. It's probably Archon. But the Archon might be valuable enough that I want to feed Clarion Conqueror 2 Swords to Plowshares. It's definitely a little weird. Alright, so this is off in the short term, this is off in the short term, which means that I don't Solitude the Delighted Halfling. I don't know how to evaluate Clarion Conqueror versus Archon in terms of which is better, and like which one I feed to Swords. Island? That is Bristly Bill. That's gonna eat a Solitude. So, Solitude, itch, Witch Enchanter. Take out Bristly Bill. It is Punchy O'Clock. We will play out the Lotus Petal and then Archon. And the hope is that this goes all the way, because with my Clarion Conqueror in play, I don't actually have true white mana right now. Outland Liberator, whose abilities can't be activated, but who could turn into a 3/3. Cavern, sure. Send it. 13, I'll just hold this. This probably goes on human. Oh, Frenzy Trapbreaker now. I am slightly afraid of a 3/4 Nadu just coming in play and walling my threats, and then my opponent can still attack with their 3/3. And like, this is the stage of the game where Palace Jailer is good, and I don't have that boarded in. Stock up, yeah, absolutely. That is a great card, but the things that are not helping to stabilize the board are a little scary to cast here. I'll take 4 on an attack, and my opponent can take out my Chrome Mox. Yeah, it's not doing anything right now anyway. I'm at 12. Osage, sure. We'll drop this. We'll keep holding Cavern. Cavern could end up going on Elemental for Solitude, for example. Alright, goodbye Lotus Petal. At 8. That's the Nadu I don't want to see. Removal spell off the top would be hot. I am so handsome. So handsome and good at Magic. Make your own luck, right? Take out Nadu. Misty. Punchies for 5. Opponent is at 5. Facing down Lethal in the air. Fetch to 4. That's another Nadu. I do not have Lethal through that. Hopefully I can go wide of that. So yeah. Stock Up and Green Sun are both very good right now. I think I am more afraid of Green Sun, but it's pretty close. Green Sun getting Bristly Bill. Bristly Bill in exile this game. There might be a Scythe Cat Cub too. I think it's Green Sun. So if I attack, I lose Clarion Conqueror. My opponent takes 2. Solitude maybe trades with that. I think I am just better chilling. The issue with Stock Up is that Stock Up can find Swords to Plowshares. Swords to Plowshares can be cast on my turn. I think Green Sun is still scarier. I guess let's pop this out. This one's going to be tight. At the end of the day, I am also just at 6 life. Alright, opponent is going for the Stock Up. They don't have blue open as of right now. Windswept Heath is tapped. So this is gone. I don't have another friend for that. So if I go in with everything, I lose 1 of Clarion Conqueror and Archon of Emeria. Opponent loses Frenzied Trapbreaker and Delighted Halfling. Will have Nadu. Am I trying to limp over the finish line here? The issue is that Green Sun can just go and get the 1 mana green sack of land Shroud guy. Sylvan Safekeeper if Clarion Conqueror is offline. So I don't actually like attacking in with everything. Okay. So let's just cast Sage of the Skies. That is a Force of Will pitching the Consign to Memory. Now my opponent is at 3. Does that change anything? Clarion Conqueror has to be blocked. Clarion Conqueror is lethal on its own, meaning I get 2. My opponent is at 1. That is not lethal. Yeah, so this is just the same scenario that I talked about. Okay. I don't think this game is getting better for me. That is a Prismatic Ending. That is exceptionally bad. That is my opponent's 1 spell for turn. I think that means I die on my opponent's next turn. I don't think I can cast this for 2 life. I have to hold this as a bluff. Ah, fuck, they've got the Nomads. And now my opponent just draws 8 cards. And even if they can only cast 1 spell, that's going to be enough to get them there. I'm not going to sit through it. GG's. Okay, I believe that I am comfortable keeping this hand. We're going to play a dragon into a dragon. I have 2 cards that aren't super castable in this hand. I am okay if I get wastelanded once. I'm dead if I get wastelanded twice. But that's usually the case anyway. We're going to lead on Ancient Tomb and pass here. Eldrazi Temple. Sure. So my opponent's Eldrazi spawns won't be able to be activated. Dargon. And this does wall some smaller Eldrazi. Opponent has their own cavern. And it is Eldrazi Linebreaker. Obviously very good. I would love to draw white mana for Source of Plowshares here. I'm eating 6 from this. I'm at 12. Nice. I don't really need to remove this immediately, right? There's no reason, there's no punish for that. There's a punish for that. I will get in there for 3. This game's gonna go fast. I guess if my opponent has Gaia's Cradle, there's a slight punish for not removing it immediately. Oh no, it's here. Oh no, it's here. I think it is more important to remove Eldrazi Linebreaker still. The trample's a really big deal. Plus the immediate life that I save is very important. You can take my Anointed Peacekeeper. Archon is kind of whatever. Archon, honestly, is just a chump blocker. I will send in for 6 in the air. This is just 3 mana. Gain 5 life. Kozilek's Command. So much for gaining my life. Yeah, so the spawns can't be activated, but I am just taking 7. I think I'm dead. Yeah, this is 3. So I will cast that as a chump blocker for Thought-Knots here, intending to take 2 on my next turn. Oh fuck, these are 1/2s because of the Lord. Shit. The double block trade. Oh no, this is awful, isn't it? My opponent can just attack with all of the creatures. Oh. Sure. That now just means that I am deterministically dead to just all of them attacking. Oh. Very dead. Well, damn. Yeah, I mean, that is just, Ancient Doom backfiring versus the Delver starts of the opponent, right? That's something we're very used to with these decks, where if your opponent puts early pressure on you while you are taking Ancient Doom damage, you just die. I have 2 Palace Jailers that I can board in, maybe in the place of something like Thalia. Thalia's First Strike body is sometimes relevant. Sage of the Skies can do some massive work in this matchup. This is probably fine on the play. I'm thinking about whether or not I'm dealing 3 damage to myself on turn 1, so that if my opponent plays a creature on turn 1, I answer it. It's a real cost. I don't think I do. I think we saw how scary Ancient Tomb damage by itself can be. Power of Destiny trigger for a little selection for my opponent. 3 cards going to exile. Alright, well, there we go. I always want to Archon of Emeria this turn. Do I want to give up a good card to Swords this? I don't think so. I think the cost is too high there. Let's just Archon. And then next turn, I Anointed Peacekeeper and Swords on my opponent's turn. It's just very... No, my opponent can't go red land into Linebreaker this turn. Another It That Heralds the End. That means I take damage this turn. Annoying. So, Cavern on human. Anointed Peacekeeper. We will make Kozilek's Command cost more. Send in for 2. 14. Pass turn. I think I need to do this in upkeep so that the cost reduction of this is not relevant for if my opponent spikes a land. I do not want them putting Devourer of Destiny into play this turn, which is exactly what would have happened. I guess it has to be an untapped land. That is a Chalice of the Void on 0, which seems like is not what my opponent wanted to do, based on the chat message they just sent. It happens. Oh, wow. I think I'll just save the life in the short term here. We'll go bam and bam for Seasoned Dungeoneer. Pick up Plains. Go to Punchies. Punchies with Anointed Peacekeeper, which is a Cleric. Clarion Conqueror. I'll put that into my graveyard. That is an okay card. I can potentially just do better. And then I'll pass the turn. I've played my 1 spell. My opponent is effectively at 6 life. Archon did a lot of work there. This is not a super interactive game of Magic. This is who punches the other person harder in the face first. On the draw, do I want Thalia to help with the Eldrazi Lord not poking me? I don't think so. Turn 1 Archon, turn 2 Archon is fine. This is a lot of Ancient Tomb self-damage, but as we saw, Archon is really fucking strong. I might just City of Traders and throw City of Traders away. Fuck, that's such a good start. That just attacks as a 4/3 haster. Yep. I will absolutely throw away a City of Traders. The issue here is that I think my opponent's Eldrazi Linebreaker is somewhat likely to just go all the way, even if I make their mana situation incredibly awkward from here. I need to double block with Archons on Eldrazi Linebreaker. Yeah, so they give up that city for no real value, then can attack 4/4. 12. Oh, bam, bam, bam. I don't think I can attack. I think I have to hold back. It just feels really bad. Because my opponent can wait this out. They don't have to attack with Eldrazi Linebreaker. Out to Cavern. Yeah, and indeed, they just don't. Which is really bad for me. I think I beat most things that aren't turn 1 Eldrazi Linebreaker with double Archon. That's a shame. Like, I think turn 1 Glaring Flashraker is less scary than this. Apt City. And we stare at each other. Am I hard casting that next turn? I don't think so. I'm pitch casting that now so that I can start attacking. Send it. Opponent's at 16. That is a Thought-Knot Seer. I think the trample of Eldrazi Linebreaker is still the problem. So let's go ahead and Solitude that away. Thought-Knot Seer takes nothing, which is, I guess, good, but that also just means that I have nothing, right? That causes my opponent to lose a city. That's definitely relevant. This still 3-turn clocks me. Oops, all Archons. I guess I make this land drop. Archon. Send it. 13. 13 is awkward. I have 12 over 2 turns in the air. So, like, my opponent tapping Ancient Tomb once is a really big deal. Oh, not red mana. Fuck your red mana. This is 9 damage. I can't double block this. Oh, this is beyond frustrating. I think I take all of it. And then just draw a removal spell for Linebreaker. Nope. Now I think I'm just kind of screwed from the trample. 2 more damage. That is a Thought-Knot Seer that is going to have haste and trample. Oh, they gave it to the Linebreaker itself. Does that end up just killing me? No, it means my blocks suck. That's what it means. So if I block this with 1 Archon, I die. I have to block this with 2 Archons, meaning I lose all of my Archons and I don't draw a card for Thought-Knot Seer. Yeah, okay. That'll do. GG's. Okay, this hand is fine. I will keep this one. The question is, when do I Seasoned Dungeoneer? Like, do I care about a counterspell, or do I just jam it on turn 1? I can go Cavern, Chrome Mox, Imprint, Solitude, Lotus Petal, Anointed Peacekeeper on 1. I think I like that. So, yeah. Imprint, Solitude, Cavern on Human. Then we just don't care about counterspells this game. Then I have turn 2 Uncounterable Seasoned Dungeoneer unless Wasteland happens. Opponent's doing the same sort of thing I am. So they don't have any fast mana here. I don't need to worry about Hushbringer stopping my stuff. If I stop Hushbringer, it's also kind of like stopping Phyrexian Dreadnought. Let's just stop Hushbringer. I can tell you for a fact that I have never put Anointed Peacekeeper on Hushbringer before. Ever, ever, ever. I think in this spot it is also okay to just name Swords to Plowshares and take that angle of possible interaction away from my opponent. So I take initiative, I grab a Plains. This is a Cleric, triggering Seasoned Dungeoneer. Solitude. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can cast a Solitude once. I can't hard cast a Solitude twice. I will put that into my graveyard. Opponent's at 16. All right, City of Traders. So they can at least play a creature and contest the initiative, but this is kind of a illusion of agency moment. Counters go here. I am fine with this. This is a basic land. It comes into play untapped. Solitude. Get rid of Archon. Send in. I'll explore with Anointed Peacekeeper. Getting a land. My opponent takes 9 and is facing down 3 strong bodies and trap all at the same time. That's tough. That is the concession point for my opponent. My opponent's keep was totally fine and reasonable, by the way. Turn 2 Hushbringer, turn 3 12/12 is totally fine. It just did not work out here because I specifically just shut off their entire hand with Anointed Peacekeeper. Let's get a couple of Palace Jailers in here over Thalia's and probably call it a day. Lauren of the Third Path, also pretty reasonable. Maybe trim 1 Archon. The Archons are really weird because they stop soul lands, but beyond the soul lands, there's just a shit ton of basic planes in that deck. I could trim a Seasoned Dungeoneer. Alright, I believe that Palace Jailer is an incredibly good card in this matchup. I am going to keep this hand. I am keeping this hand knowing that things can absolutely go wrong. Urza's Saga to search out Dreadnoughts. Got it. So I'm going to play Ancient Tomb this turn because Archon is in my opponent's deck. The Urza Saga makes my whole Palace Jailer thing really awkward. Ooh, that's actually really big game. With multiple basic planes, do I just play basic planes over Cavern this turn? Probably. This is quite good. My opponent will make a 1/1. Then I will name Urza's Saga. Ooh, my opponent does not have white mana, so they're going to have to get a Chrome Mox. I'm still naming Urza Saga. The Anointed Peacekeepers making Palace Jailer cost infinity mana is really annoying. What if I give my opponent an extra construct token with Urza Saga? So they have 2 3/3s. I Palace Jailer 1 away. End up on the defensive a lot of the time. This is tough. I think I'm going to continue to name Urza Saga. I don't super think I win the game easily here. Do an okay job of wasting my opponent's resources. They float their mana. They tried to make a construct token and then realized I named Urza Saga. Alright, there's Chromox. So it is my hope here that they do not play their own Anointed Peacekeeper and they instead try to do something like Archon. Anointed Peacekeeper making Palace Jailer cost 6 mana is really annoying. The second Anointed Peacekeeper making it cost 8. Super frowny face. Then there's also the times where they just play Doorkeeper Thrall. Alright, Doorkeeper Thrall went under. Ancient Tomb. Damn it. Alright, yep. Witch Enchanter. That's actually quite powerful. That blows up my opponent's Chrome Mox. That shuts off all of this stuff. Okay. End it. My opponent was actually thinking about blocking there. Cavern as land drop is fine. Oh man. I guess technically I should make it uncounterable even though it doesn't matter here. Good play patterns. Goodbye, Chromox. And then next turn I can just pay 4 life to 6 mana Palace Jailer. And that in theory runs away with the game. Oh, shit, you're attacking? 6 mana Palace Jailer, fine? Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Now I just get to 4 mana Palace Jailer. And we can just take out this token. Make planes as land drop. So that I have Swords to Plowshares up for the next creature that my opponent drops. I am the pretty princess. My opponent does not have white mana. They sure do have colorless mana, though. 6 colorless mana? Oh, they're just conceding. Okay, yeah, that's fair. GG's. Let's debrief this. Alright. Overall thoughts on the deck list. I am not going to claim that I nailed deck building here, but I think I feel confident enough that both of these cards are good. Sage of the Skies is a lot of life-linking damage potential in Ancient Tomb decks that traditionally do a lot of self-damage to themselves. However, I don't think you play this in the same deck as Clarion Conqueror. I think you play this in a deck with the One Ring so that you have greater potential to just turn these into lifelinkers. Like you draw the artifact mana and then you use this to recoup the life loss from the One Ring. So I don't know that these belong in the same deck. Clarion Conqueror is a really powerful card. I liked what my opponent was cooking in the last round there, where they had more 2-drops that they could cast. Like they have a Doorkeeper, Brawl, and Hushbringer that they can play as other hate bears that mean that they don't necessarily need as much artifact fast mana in their deck itself. So I liked what they were doing with this card. It may be that Clarion Conqueror ends up being better in mana dork decks rather than Ancient Tomb decks, because the Ancient Tomb decks, I don't know, you run into the same problem though, right? Like, if you are accelerating this out, when you accelerate it out, you shut off the things that are good at powering it out. This card is strong. Like, clocking for 3 is good. It blocks Tameo. It stops clues from Tameo. It stops Planeswalker Tameo. I like this card. I did not feel like my sideboard was particularly strong today. Maybe I over-respected graveyards. I wanted, like, literally one more fair card in the sideboard. Like, one more Lauren, I think, would have been pretty good. So maybe you don't play the Sanctifier Invex and get, like, another Lauren in there. Maybe one more removal spell in there or something. This was a good start, and I hope this gives the Brewers of the world some ideas. At this point, I'm going to call it a night. Very stuffy. You need some cards. You know, a place that'll have them. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. See ya.